Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our morning meeting with ambassadors here at the Center for Wildlife. I'm out here with our beautiful long-eared owl, Leo. We're going to sit and enjoy the sunshine and chat with you guys all about our owls. Leo is a long-eared owl, so we'll talk a little bit about their ears. And yeah, let me know if you're here. Let me know where you're from and we'll say hello. As always, there is a donate button for the posts, and thank you so much to everyone who's donated in the last week or so. It's been truly amazing to see the support for our emergency fund, and that'll really keep us supported through the end of the year for this pandemic. So we're really, really grateful. Tune in, let us know where you're from, who's watching. Hi, Caitlin. It's great to see you watching these. And we'll get started chatting about Leo in just a sec once some more people have tuned in. We're here outside the Center for Wildlife's patient enclosures. So right behind me is an enclosure that we have housing for patients in. We also have our resident great horned owls in there as well. Our great horned owls are Galileo and Gaia, and they live with us permanently. They're ambassadors, but they just don't really like being on display, so they are on the clinic side. Hi, Beth. Good morning, Joe. Hello, Xander. I'm so glad that you guys get to tune in every day. Good morning, Kim. Hello. I love that I get to recognize the same names and faces every morning. That's so sweet. Hi, Sue. Good morning. So I'm going to flip the camera around because I know you guys really want to see Leo. He's very, very sweet. He's a really good boy. He's one of our older ambassadors. So hello, Birdie. Hello. So let's say good morning to Leo. Hi, Leo. What do you think? Good morning. Leo is one of our older ambassadors. He came to us in 2007, so he's actually up there for his species. He is 13 years old. He's probably turning that this spring. Hello, Maddie and Clara. Good morning, Lisa. We are pretty sure about his age, but as always, there's a little margin for error. He didn't come in as a chick, so he could have been up to, a year or 2 years old. But he is a beautiful boy. We just saw a raven fly above us, so he's checking that out. I don't know if you guys can hear that caw, caw, caw sound. That's a raven. We have a lovely family of them that live here. Hello, Nicole. Hi, Beth. Good morning. He is so beautiful, especially out here in the sun. Leo's favorite thing in the world to do is to sit in the sunshine. He has 2 spots in his enclosure that are hit with the sun in the morning and in the evening, and you'll see him switch from one to the other. He's kind of like a cat that way. He'll just kind of move around his enclosure in response to the sunlight. He really loves sunning himself. And yeah, so he is up there. He's about 13. These guys in the wild wouldn't really usually live beyond maybe 11 or 12, so he's definitely senior. And he, in captivity could be expected to live into his late teens. So he's definitely by no means like on death's door or anything, but he is what we would consider kind of an older gentleman. Yeah. Hi, Becky. Good morning, Nico. So great to see you. I don't know if you guys can see the wind picking up Leo's feathers. He has these beautiful feathers all over his body. These guys are usually found in pretty northern climates. They live up in the forests in Canada that extend all the way up to the tundra of the North Pole. Good morning, Julie. Hello. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are watching a field trip for a science class. That's so cool. Birdie, he's about maybe from talon to head, he is probably about 8 to 10 inches tall. Maybe a little bit taller if you add those ears in. And then he does have a tail that makes him a little bit longer. I don't know if you guys can see that. I know, I'm sorry. We'll go back. He's like, why did you move? So he's less than a foot tall. And we can give you some perspective too. That's my glove there. Good morning, Abby. Hello. I know Leo's has the most beautiful eyes. Between the ears and the eyes, and just their overall disposition. These guys are very cat-like, and many of our owls do act kind of what we think of as cat-like, because cats are kind of the closest thing in our lives to a little wild predator. And good morning. I'm so glad you guys are watching in your class. Good morning, Ryan. So they have these long ear tufts on the top of their head. We do call them ears with these guys, even though their ears are not on the tops of their heads. So he is a long-eared owl, and they're called that because of those feather tufts on the tops of their heads. And they are usually about this long. There are also owls with shorter ear tufts called short-eared owls, and then there are other tufted owls as well. So screech owls have these feather tufts, and great horns are known for those tufts as well. They're just called horns. But they are just feathers. They do an amazing job of making Leo look really tall and elongated. So he's going to spend most of his time sitting in a tree. So sitting in a tree like this one. And because he is so tall and skinny, he's going to look a lot like the profile of a tree. So his whole body is kind of tall, skinny. It makes the vertical line of his body look really great. And those feathers are just to continue with that amazing camouflage. So he's going to sit on a branch in a tree. He'll tend to like hug the trunk of the tree, so he blends right in, and your eye would just skim right over him because he looks kind of just like the vertical line of the tree. So that's what those little tufts are for, is just to help him blend in even better than he already does with the beautiful coloring all over him. He is beautiful. Good morning, Jessica. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, James. I was not here at the time, but the Center for Wildlife named Leo because we're very creative and came up with long-eared owl, L-E-O, for so Leo. Hi, Kat. Good morning. And Leo has been a very sweet ambassador with us. He's great. He is a little bit more shy. I mentioned these guys live up in the dense forests of Canada, so he would normally be found, they're called the boreal forests of Canada, and he would be found very far north for most of his breeding season, the spring and summer. And then when he travels south, he will go down to like the southern half of the United States for the winter, but for a lot of the year he is spending his time up where it's very cold. Yeah. So for reference, my hand is in this glove here. So he's he's sitting on my glove. He's perching on my glove. Nice job, buddy. You're such a good boy. But because they live in such dense forested areas, they live in very secluded, remote areas, they are not super well adapted to people. They get a little bit, they're very shy. So we usually only bring Leo on our programs that are very, a very calm group, very quiet. He really likes to be left to his own devices most of the time. So we limit how much stress he really gets, because he likes to sit in his enclosure and see the world around him. He loves his trees. He is a wonderful ambassador. We use him on site a lot so that he doesn't have to travel too much. And he's also getting older, so we spoil him a little bit. Yeah, so those those little feather tufts on the tops of his head are often called ears, but they're just feathers. And their ears are actually located behind his eye. So he's going to keep his eye on the camera the whole time. But those little discs of feathers you see around his eyes, those are called his facial disc. And you can see he has a circle that completely goes around his eyes and his beak. And that is really kind of acting like a satellite dish for him, so that when he hears a mouse on the ground, he can point his head straight down, and they will help him to... Oh my goodness, it got windy. You're okay, buddy. Look at all those feathers. You're covered in fluff. Yeah, so his They do. They look like ears, and that's how these guys got their name. The long-eared owl is called that because of these long feather tufts on the tops of their heads, and the short-eared owls are called that because they have short little feather tufts on their heads. And it's just a misnomer that folks gave them. But their ears are located right behind that little ring of brown feathers. He won't let me show you guys them. He's not as calm as some of our other ambassadors when it comes to me touching him, but I do have a cool picture of their ears. This is a photograph of a barred owl's ear, and Leo's will look very similar to that. On the left you can see that dark patch is an eye, and then that is their ear. So their ear is almost larger than their eye. If you were just to pull the brown feathers on Leo's head forward, this is what you would see. And their ears are very large. They have a flap of skin over them to keep anything from getting in there, and then those feathers kind of nest on top of that. But they have incredible hearing. They can hear very well directionally, so they can hear if something's, where something is coming from, a noise is coming from, very well. They usually will have one ear that's located up a little bit higher than the other one so that they can tell where noise is coming from around them. Good morning, Katie. Hello. So Katie, Eli, and Daniel, hello. Denise would like to know what they like to eat. So these guys in the wild will eat a few different things. They do like small mammals. They do like typical owl food of mice and moles and things, but they will also eat quite a few songbirds. The boreal forests in Canada are packed with songbird families. They're like a wonderful breeding ground for many different species. There's a lot of biodiversity of songbirds up there, and these guys will actually hunt and eat quite a few birds. They are living amongst the canopy in the forest, so they will have a lot of prey up there in the form of birds. They'll do some nest raiding for birds, for nestlings, things like that. These guys are pretty opportunistic hunters, so they'll find food where they can, but they do like to eat a variety of things. Leo is about 13 years old, which means he is actually pretty up there for this species of owl. Usually the rule with our owls is that they will live longer the larger they are. So if you have a great horned owl, they could be like 40 years old in captivity. If you have a little saw-whet owl or screech owl, they might only live to be like 5 or 6 in the wild, and then 10 plus in captivity. So this guy in the wild would usually live to be about 11 or 12 years old. And then in captivity, they will live a little bit longer than that. So he's 13. He's older than you would expect to see in the wild, but in captivity, they will live a lot longer. Beth, I hope you saw the answer to that question of what they eat. Good morning, Abby. Thank you so much for your question. Good morning, Uncle David. Hi, I'm so glad you guys are watching this. Hi, Chuck. Thank you so much. All the way from Rhode Island. We're so happy that you are joining us today. I'll turn the camera around so you guys can get a better look at me while I'm talking. Hi everybody, good morning. We're here with Leo, our long-eared owl. Good morning. Hi, what do you think? So we're here at the Center for Wildlife in York, Maine. Many of you guys all probably know about the center, but if you're new, the Center for Wildlife is a wildlife medical hospital and environmental education clinic. Look at that profile. You're so pretty in the sun. So we treat wildlife that are brought to us with injuries or illnesses or as orphans. We have quite a few orphans at the moment. We've gotten, we have 20 baby squirrels with us right now, and 2 owlets that have fallen from their nest. If you check out the rest of our Facebook page, there are images of an owlet that we got in last night who is very feisty. So we have 2 great horned owlets, which is really cool. We're hoping to re-nest them if that's possible. But we take care of many different types of animals, any wild bird that you would find in our area, mammals smaller than like a porcupine that are not rabies vector species, and then all of our native reptiles and amphibians as well. So we take care of about 2,000 patients every year, of about maybe 180 80 to 190 different species. And we also teach education programs throughout the Seacoast area, all the way up into Maine and down into Mass as well. And right now we can't really do any of those, so we're excited to be able to get in touch with you guys and do these Facebook Lives, because they're our way of connecting with folks that we would normally get to see. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Megan. We'll go back to Leo. I know you're so pretty. Hello. So Leo, as a kind of a medium-sized owl, is very good at hunting. He's a wonderful predator. Like I said, very cat-like, and but he is also, because he's kind of smaller than you know, a barred owl or a great horned owl, or up in Canada there would also be great grays that would be quite a bit bigger than him. They also do need to worry about predation, and that's why they have such wonderful camouflage. They're very strictly nocturnal. They really only get active at night when the cover of darkness can protect them. So Leo is very stationary here most of the day. He'll go between 2 spots in his enclosure and sit in the sun like you're seeing him do now. He'll kind of go follow the sun throughout the room, and then at night he'll become more active, and we come in the morning and there are little talon prints all over the ground, and there's evidence that he's flung, you know, mouse guts all over the place. So he definitely gets active. It's just when we're all gone. Brendan, age 10, would like to know how thick his feathers are. So the wind has picked up a couple times, and you can kind of get a sense for how fluffy he is. I'll give you guys a little hint though. He only weighs about like half a pound, and he might look like he would weigh, you know, at least a few pounds, but he really does not weigh that much. So he is mostly feathers. All of this stuff near his chin, that's all feather. You can kind of get a view from the side of how fluffy he is. So he is mostly feather. And I did look up how many bones these guys have, because we've gotten a lot of questions about bird bones, and many of them, you know, they have more fused bones than we have, so their bone density is very low. They're going to stay light to fly. So he actually only has 27 bones, which is not a lot, but many of the bones that we would have been fused together in our owls. And what's amazing about that is 14 of those bones are located in their neck, and that is what allows them to turn their heads around so well. So over half of all of the bones in their body are in their neck, in the cervical vertebrae in their neck, that allow them to turn their head around. It's just nutty. He is very beautiful. Chuck, I have only seen barred owl, great gray, and snowy owls all at Brunswick Naval Air Station. Yeah, so you're very lucky to have seen the great gray. They are actually pretty rare in Maine. They usually only really come down in the winter. They spend most of their time in Canada, so that's awesome that you've seen them. Great horned owls are also pretty common in our area. The larger the owl, the more likely you are to see them. Oh, we lost a picture. We lost our owl ear picture, but that's okay. We were done with it. Good boy. And a lot of the smaller species of owls you're going to have a really hard time seeing, because they are very strictly nocturnal. They're not going to come out and say hi to us unless they're maybe sick or injured. So we usually don't get to see the little, you know, screech owls or solid owls unless you're hiking in the woods in the winter, or you chance upon one while it's sleeping. Denise would like to know what the status of our new center is. So the new center is right through the trees behind me, and the building itself is almost done. We're still fundraising for the rest of the things that need to be done in the building. We're setting up the nature center, we're furnishing things, and then we have a lot of landscaping to do as well. We're going to be moving all of these guys' enclosures over to the new site. So the little house that Leo lives in is going to be moving, and we are still raising money for that, but the building itself is almost completely done, and we're hoping to get into that building shortly. Everything's kind of a little bit more up in the air right now because of everything going on, but people are still working over there. We're being very careful, but it's coming along beautifully. It's an absolutely beautiful building. There is quite a bit of content on the Facebook page about about the building. I think last week they posted that we got some new furniture in there for the intern housing area. So they do post a lot on here about that new building. So if you want to go check that out, that'll give you a good sense of where we're at. Does he have eyelashes? Yes, so he does. All of those feathers you see around his eye are feathers, and they do look kind of like eyelashes. But the funny thing is that slow blink he's doing, just like a cat, is actually a sign when he blinks rapidly. It's kind of like he's keeping an eye on things. He doesn't want to keep his eyes closed too long. But then once that blink slows down, it means he's kind of resting and more comfortable. So that slow blink is actually a good thing. We will often return it to them. So we'll slow blink at them to kind of teach them that we're also calm and comfortable around them. It's a way of forming a bond between these guys. So the slow blink is a way that we communicate with them, just like you could with a cat. Levi wants to know how far he can see. So these guys can see fairly well. They're obviously famous for their night vision. Oh, we have some chipping sparrows fighting up in the trees. I know, they're so pretty. So they will see about as well as we can distance-wise, but then when it comes to night vision, they are very, very good at seeing in the dark, seeing in low light conditions. They can see about 10 times better than us in the dark. And they do need some source of visible light to see, but it can be very faint, and just, the light of the stars and the moon is often enough. But they also, there is speculation that they can see into the UV spectrum, that they can see things that would glow under a black light. So maybe like the urine trails of mice as they run through the forest, that sort of thing. So they're still, the jury's still out on that, but there is some speculation that they can see into that UV spectrum. It's very cool. Hello, good morning, Leo. You're so sweet. Please let me know if you guys have any more questions. I absolutely love being able to answer your questions in real time. During many programs, I am often I have a set of information I'm trying to get through, so I ask people to save their questions until the end of the program. I really love being able to answer your questions in real time because it's more organic. But I think it's really cool that you guys have so much that you're curious about. What is Leo's wingspan? Do you know? So what is the average for long-eared owls? So long-eared owls are a smaller owl, so they don't have as long of a wingspan. You can see he has probably 2-foot wingspan. When his wings are extended. He really doesn't like to be touched, so I'm not going to mess with him. But he does have very long feathers on his wings. Okay, I know. So there you go. You can see when he does that. So he has very, very long wings. I know, you feel the wind and you're like, I'm going to go for it. Hi. It's okay. So you can see how long his wings are. And what's interesting about that is because he's living in dense forest, you would think that having long wings would be a bad thing. Look at that. You're so sweet. But it's actually the proportion of the length of their wings to their tail that helps them to maneuver through the trees. So he has what we call a very low aspect ratio, which is like science talk for the ratio between the length of his wings and his tail. And when they have a short tail like that and long wings, it helps them to maneuver through the woods. So he's very well equipped. Hi, buddy. So you can see his very long what we call leading edges to his feathers. The other really cool thing about his feathers is, I don't know if you guys can see, it's okay, right on that front edge of his feather, he has this what we call fluted edge. It's really just like the teeth of a comb on his feather. That actually has evolved to help him cut up the sound that his wings make when he flaps them, so he can fly silently at night. It's very cool. I know, buddy. We're investigating your feathers, and you're not a fan. I know. We'll come back here. Good boy. Good morning. Good morning from everybody who's tuned in. Wow, we have so many questions. Good morning. Do eagles eat owls? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Eagles are scavengers and will eat pretty much whatever they can find. So if they find an owl nest and they want to raid it, and you know it's during the day and these guys are napping, absolutely. Many owls will be a little bit harder for an eagle to see and find because they're so well camouflaged, but absolutely. Let's see. Asher would like to know how well they can hear. Good morning. So these guys have amazing hearing. They can hear very well, obviously at night when they're hearing, but they also are hearing things that are pretty far below them. So they're hunting up in a tree canopy and they need to be able to hear mice on the ground. So they will go a little bit closer to the ground to hunt. And then the really cool thing is that their hearing is actually directional, which means they can kind of tell where noise is coming from really easily and pinpoint the direction, the spot where that noise originated. And that's because their ears are actually offset a little bit. So we have ears that are right across from our head on the same level, but these guys have one ear up high and one ear down low, and that helps them to triangulate where sound is coming from really well. So if something's coming from up high, they turn their head to look up towards that direction. If they hear something coming from down low, they turn their head down to look in the direction of that ear. So they can triangulate sound really well. And they've done amazing studies with owls where they'll be in a completely darkened room with no source of visible light. They really want to be able to see using their night vision in the visible spectrum. They might be able to see things that glow in the dark. We are under a black light. That's still being speculated about. But they can catch a mouse every single time using just their ears because they can figure out where that mouse is based on, you know, the little pitter patter of its feet that it's hearing. So incredibly good hearing. So Leo is a long-eared owl, and they call them long-eared owls for these feather tufts on the tops of their heads that are not their ears. Their ears are located right behind that brown circle of feathers next to his eye.